All right, how's everyone doing? So tonight we've got Sarah Deif, long last friend, everyone call it. Yeah, I've known Sarah for a very, very, very long time, and Sarah is going to give us a talk about debunking dating myths. So, round of applause for Sarah. All yours.
Okay, so, a few familiar faces in the room. Hi. I have to self-disclose. I have to apologize in advance. I haven't slept in a few days. My children are very sick with various daycare germs.
Sarah, I'm sorry, we can't hear you.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Is this okay? Just speak
Louder.
louder? Okay, that's fine. So my kids are unwell. Daycare germs are very, very potent, so I haven't slept in a while. As a person, for those of you who know me, I'm unfiltered at baseline. Today, I'm going to really try to be politically correct, but if I'm not, just ignore it, okay? And Aki, just, strike it from the record if you can, okay? So this is my favorite topic, generally. Where I serve at SMSV, they call me Relationship Goals because that's the title of our series that we do every so often. And it's generally a series that talks about relationships and not just relationships, but like how they add or take away from your spiritual life and things like that. So this is my favorite topic. So on a day where I'm exhausted, this is definitely the topic that I want to talk about. So why do we talk about this? Why do we have a whole series at SMSV about relationships and relationship goals? This particular topic, when we talk about myths, the reason we do this topic is because operating under these myths in relationships lead to unrealistic expectations, and unrealistic expectations lead to consequences. So consequences like disappointment. So you have this big idea of what a relationship is supposed to look like, or you're coming out of a relationship, there's baggage, and then your next one is supposed to look like this, and you're disappointed before you've even given the person a chance because of your unrealistic expectations. Or confusion. So one person's not understanding why things are not going the way they're supposed to, the other person's not understanding what they're doing wrong, and everybody's confused because of unrealistic expectations. Frustration on both sides, so you're not giving the relationship a fair chance right from the get-go because people are frustrated, and baggage. So I'm not going to talk too much about baggage today because I have a whole other discussion on baggage. See how this one goes. And then we'll talk about that one later. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to take 10 myths about relationships, and then we're going to go through each myth, and we're going to talk about why it's a myth, why it's true or false, and we're going to talk about the difference between what Hollywood paints as a picture and what our church society paints as a picture, because those are the two major influencers in our life when it comes to relationships. So what you see in the movies, what you see in the media, what you see your non-Orthodox friends doing or what they're expecting versus what we're told in our church groups or our church societies. Okay, so the first one is it should just happen naturally. Okay, this is one that is shared between the movies and shared between our church society. Okay, so in the movies they discourage you seeking advice or suggestions, right? Because no one should weigh in, because you should just be following your heart, and you shouldn't need anybody's help to be in a relationship because it should just happen naturally. Okay, in our society, our church society, what it translates into is I don't do grad meetings, I don't do setups, I don't do blind dates. If you've suggested this person, I don't need anybody's help. And that whole concept of it should just happen naturally sometimes dictates how you put yourself out there, okay? Or it dictates where you go, what you do, like who you're seen with, what your perception is, or what people's perception is of you. This concept of it should just happen naturally, okay? Let's just talk about the word naturally, okay? Because this one, I'm sure you can tell I'm starting to wake up a little bit. This one drives me a little bit crazy, this concept of it should just happen naturally, okay? Because that makes the assumption that there is a cookie cutter way that people are supposed to meet, or there's a cookie cutter way of the way people are supposed to get together. That's not true. Like, it is very, very rare for you to find 5 or 6 couples that have all met the same way. That's not how it works. And part of what makes a relationship like interesting is its uniqueness. So there is no like naturally where everybody is supposed to meet in a specific way. Okay, so what is naturally? Is it unnatural to attend church functions or grad meetings or whatever, grad conventions or whatever? No, It's what you would have been doing anyway. I went to many grad meetings, many grad conventions after I was in a relationship, after I was engaged, after I was married. I'm here. I'm married. I got 2 kids at home with my husband, okay? Like, this is what you would have been doing anyway. If I wasn't at a grad meeting, I'd be at any other kind of meeting. It's not unnatural to go to a grad meeting. What's unnatural is the stigma that we attach to it. But the actual attending of a grad meeting or a grad convention or a grad whatever is not unnatural. Is it unnatural to seek wise counsel? Like, is it unnatural for you to ask somebody for advice? I mean, if it was anything other than relationships, you wouldn't hesitate to go and ask somebody for advice. If it was your career path, you would go and talk to somebody who's in your designated career path. So what's the difference? Why is it unnatural to seek wise counsel in this area? Like, I would argue that this is one of the most difficult areas to navigate. This is one of the ones that it makes the most sense to seek wise counsel in. And I mean, I don't have to go through every verse in the Bible about seeking wise counsel, but I mean, you guys can read. It's pretty strongly encouraged. And people who trust themselves, because it should just happen naturally, are generally the ones that will fall first. Is it unnatural to hear suggestions? This one makes me crazy because I like to play Cupid a little bit sometimes. Why does somebody become less of a great suggestion because I've suggested them? Not me specifically, because I'm very good at what I do. But, generally, somebody said, I think this person's really great. Why does that person now lose their credibility? Because they've been suggested, okay? I would caution you about this whole thing about let it happen naturally. I would caution you, and so again, I'm unfiltered because I'm very tired. I would caution you to check yourself when this happens, okay? When you feel yourself reacting this way, I would caution you to check yourself and to check your pride, okay? Don't let pride stand in the way of somebody giving you help or somebody giving you a decent suggestion, because it is very proud for us to assume that we don't need any help, okay? This is one of the most difficult areas to navigate, like I said, okay? Nobody has it figured out. There is no, black and white, this is the way it's supposed to happen. There is no, resources that you can look up that'll tell you what you're supposed to do. This is something that's very difficult to navigate. So don't let your pride stop you from taking help when help does not at all take away from what's happening. It doesn't take away from, the greatness of what's happening, okay? Myth number 2, okay? So I'm gonna disclaimer, okay? This myth, we're gonna talk about guys. The girls is coming, okay? So don't oh, she's a girl, she's hating on the guys, this and that. It's coming. Everybody's gonna get hated on, okay? Okay, so all men, so the stereotype of men in the movies, okay, is men are afraid of commitment, okay? And men are interested in dating around. No, sorry. Okay? Whoops. So, in the movies, men are afraid of commitment and men are interested in dating around, okay? In our community, okay? Oh, here we go. In our community, the stereotypes is that our Coptic guys or Egyptian guys or whatever want domesticated women, okay? And they're intimidated by independent women. So all the time when this topic comes up and there's a girl who's sitting with me from the church community and she's complaining and this and that, it's, all they want is some, housewife, some tunt who's going to cook them their mom's food and this and that. And they're intimidated by somebody who's got an opinion or somebody who's got a voice or somebody who's, it's so oppressive, and then it starts to rant, okay? So I just want to take these stereotypes and I want to boil them down to where they come from and to see whether or not there's any validity to them, because I'm going to tell you that there is some validity to them, okay? No offense, okay? So, men are afraid of commitment. Is that true? Yeah, it's true, okay? It's true. And thank God that they are afraid of commitment. Thank God, okay? Because men are afraid of commitment when it's either the wrong girl, the wrong place, or the wrong time in their life. That's when they're afraid of commitment. I promise you that maybe 90% of the people in this room probably know that story of a guy and a girl who were dating for 10 years and they were on and off and there was all this drama and blah blah, and then finally they broke up for good and 6 months later the guy's engaged. And everyone's reaction is always oh, what a jerk, blah blah blah. No, not a jerk, okay? Wrong girl, wrong place, or wrong time. If there is something wrong with the relationship, the guy cannot commit. He can't do it. And thank God, because ladies, if you are the wrong girl for him, or it is the wrong place, or it is the wrong time in his life, you don't want him to commit to you. You don't want that. Because he cannot emotionally give you what you need. He can't. And the stringing it along and trying and this and that and it's not working, whatever, it's not good for anybody. So are they afraid of commitment? Yeah, they are. When it's the wrong girl, place, or time. And thank God that they are. Thank God that they are. Because there are too many marriages where they just push through that wrongness. And, our divorce rates are climbing, unfortunately. Guys are interested in dating around and nothing more. So I'm going to park this one, because this is also a pet peeve of mine, and we're going to come back to it, okay, in myth number 6. Just like, and this one is not specific to guys, okay? This is just the concept of dating around. I want to talk about this a little bit more later, so just park this one for a second, okay? Now, want domesticated women, okay? Many of you in this room, I don't know anybody here, okay? I know maybe like you, and you, sort of, and you, sort of, okay? That's it. The rest of you I've never seen you in my life, okay? So I'm not at all invested in what you think of me, at all, okay? And you don't know anything about me. You don't know my background. I'm not going to tell you who my husband is because he's from your church and I don't want to make him look bad, okay? You know, but that's fine. You already know me, okay? Before I met my husband, okay, I was one of these, like, these crazy people, okay? The women's rights and don't you dare try to oppress my voice and to make me quiet and this and that and women's rights. And for the first 6 months that I was dating my husband, I wouldn't let him pay because I don't need a man to pay for me. Are you kidding me? And I was one of those crazies, okay? My husband mellowed me out quite a bit, okay? So this concept of Coptic guys want domesticated women used to drive me crazy. This is ridiculous. We're just going backwards in history. We're going backwards in process. And it used to drive me crazy, okay? Until I understood this concept, okay? This specific concept of what domesticated women are, okay? The way we are wired, men and women, okay, is to complement each other. That's how we're wired, okay? And that is the God-given design, okay? Because God created a helper, okay? So we are designed to complement each other, okay? One of the things that guys are attracted to by design, okay, is the nurturing side of women. That's what they're attracted to, okay? It's not about how well she can cook, how well she can replicate his mom's whatever, okay? Or her being a stay-at-home and how well she can clean and how well she can run a household. That's not what it's about, okay? It's not what it's about. It's about her nurturing side. And her nurturing side is a manifestation of how she makes him feel, okay? Every guy, okay, by design, in a relationship, needs to feel respected. They need to feel respected. And every girl, by design, needs to feel loved, okay? That's why when you go through the most, controversial verse in the Bible, wives submit to your husband and husbands love your wives, okay? It's written that way for a reason. Wives submit to your husbands because they need to feel like you respect them. And when they feel like you respect them, they then are able to give you what you need most in a relationship, which is to feel loved, okay? If you take any relationship dispute or conflict, you can always boil it down to either the guy doesn't feel respected or the girl doesn't feel loved. Always. Take any fight, any disagreement, any argument, you can boil it down to one of those two issues. She's acting this way because she doesn't feel loved, or he's acting this way because he doesn't feel respected. Always. Hi. Nice to see you guys again. There's now more familiar faces, okay? Always, okay? So this concept of men want a domesticated women is a very bad delivery of a true concept. And the true concept is men are attracted to the nurturing side of women. They are attracted to the way a girl can make them feel. If a girl can make them feel respected, if a girl can make them feel like a leader or make them feel like a man who can run a household, who is a leader, who is a God-chosen leader, they are attracted to that. And sometimes this concept of domesticated is manifested in a household. Sure, that's not bad. I'm married now. I cook. My kids got to eat. My husband has to eat. He's not going to cook. If he cooks, nobody's going to eat. Sure, okay? Whatever, okay? But it's not a task, okay? This concept of domesticated women, it's not a task. It's not her ability to do X. It's how she makes him feel. It's what she can do for him. How she can build him up into a leader as opposed to tearing him down. That's what it is. So is it true that guys want domesticated women? I don't like the word domesticated, but as a concept, yes, that's what they're attracted to. Because They want to be around somebody who builds them up as a God-chosen leader. Absolutely. And there's nothing wrong with that. And if your cooking makes him feel that way, okay, great. Like whatever. But what I'm saying is, it's not oppressive. It's not like backwards to feminism, because it's got nothing to do with what you do. It's got everything to do with how you make him feel. Okay? Now, the opposite of that is that the stereotype that men are intimidated by independent women. Okay? Is that true? No. Yes, sort of. Okay? I'll tell you why. Okay? So, men, okay, so the same way that we are better at nurturing, okay, just by design, okay, men have a God-given desire to lead in a household, okay? And it took me a long time to understand this in my relationship and my marriage, but I got it, okay? And when I did, our relationship went from here to here, okay? They want to take care of who they're with, not because the girl needs to be taken care of, not at all, because they want to take care of that girl, okay? So all the time, okay, when we first got married, my husband used to put money in my wallet all the time. Okay, I never carry cash. I don't there's cards. I have Apple Pay. I have it on my watch. Who cares? I don't need cash. Okay, my husband has it in his mind that if there's ever an emergency, CAA doesn't take Apple Pay or whatever. Okay, so he always wants me to have cash. Okay, so he used to always put money in my wallet. He still does all the time. Okay, and I would just be somewhere and I'm looking for cash and I always check my wallet just in case, because I never know when he's been in my wallet. Sometimes yes, sometimes no. I don't know. Okay, and I remember one time somebody asked me about that. And they're like, isn't that offensive to you? You know how to go to an ATM. I'm like, no. He in no way doesn't think that I can't go to an ATM. Of course I can. I'm not an idiot. I had a bank account before I got married. I know how to go to an ATM. But he wants to do this. This is his way of making sure that even when he's not with me, I'm taken care of. Not because I need to be taken care of, but because he wants to take care of me. Okay? That's their desire, okay? And it's great. That's not a bad thing. That's an amazing thing in a relationship and in a marriage, okay? Now, this concept of independent women, okay, is sometimes confused with overbearing women, okay, and controlling women, okay? So guys are attracted to the nurturing side of women, okay, and alternatively are not attracted to somebody who doesn't allow them to lead, okay? It's not because the woman is strong or independent or has a job or makes money or makes more money than him or all these crazy things that these crazy people are talking about, okay? That's not what it's about at all. It's about his God-given desire to lead a relationship, okay? Because he's the priest of the house, so it's his God-given desire to lead a family, okay? And somebody who doesn't allow him to have that opportunity, or someone who doesn't help him or empower him to be that kind of God-given leader. That's what they don't like. It's not your independence. It's not your intelligence or your career advancement. Nobody cares about that. Again, it's the same thing. It's about how you make him feel. Do you make him feel like he's a leader, or do you make him feel like he can't do anything right himself and you have to take over? That's the difference, okay? It's not about independence or anything like that, okay? It's about how you make him feel. So the two perfect examples, okay? I love these examples. I could give a whole series just on these two examples, okay? So you want to talk about domesticated women, you want to talk about somebody who makes him feel empowered, then you read about David and Abigail, okay? I love David and Abigail. This David and Abigail is like Disney in the Bible. This is like a love story, okay? So I'm sure you guys all know, I don't need to go into the details of it, but Abigail's married to some Joe Schmo, not a very smart guy. He's super annoying, very greedy, all this stuff, whatever. Anyways, long story short, he does something and he insults David, okay? David at the time was people knew that he was the chosen king, but he wasn't the king yet, okay? And he was kind of in hiding and whatever, so he's going from place to place and people are helping him, people who know who he is because he's gaining popularity, okay? So this guy turned him down for helping him, even though David did something else for him. Whatever. Go and read the details. It's not that important. But he insulted David, okay? So David is losing his mind, okay? Super insulted. And you know David. David's very highs and lows. He's very his highs are very high and his lows are very lows. And when he's mad, he can go from 0 to 60 in no time, okay? So he gets really mad and he's I'm going to go to this guy's household and I'm going to decimate them. There will be no male standing because obviously guys are, how you prosper in life, whatever, okay? So he's that's it, and I'm gonna decimate them, okay? And he's raging and he's furious and when he's highs and lows, okay? So Abigail is the wife of this Joe Schmo who insulted David, okay? And she hears about it. So what does she do? Okay? What does she do? gets a bunch of like whatever cows and goats or whatever, like gifts or whatever that she's gonna give David, okay? And she gets on her horse and she like takes off to meet him before he comes to their house to decimate them, okay? And all she does is give one speech, okay? And in that one speech, okay, she makes him do a 180, okay? And not like humbles him, okay? Not like makes him feel bad because he's obviously being dramatic and that's unnecessary. No. She changes his perspective of himself. She makes him realize that he is better than this. He is better than what he's about to do. Like she reminds him who he is, she reminds him of his worth, and she reminds him like essentially how amazing he is and that something like this would be beneath him. Okay? She empowers him. She reminds him that he's a leader. She reminds him that like he is more than this. And that makes him want to be better. That makes him decide not to do the silly thing that he's about to do so that he doesn't regret it later. She did that. She empowered him. She made him feel respected and she made him want to be better. That's what guys are attracted to, okay? And like, then like, he's like all happy with her and she's so great, and then the husband dies and then they get married and it's so great. It's like Disney, right? They live happily ever after, they ride off into the sunset. Like, this is his like second of however many wives, like. But she changes like his entire tune in that one speech because she understood how to like respond to his like desire to be nurtured. She understood that, okay? Like when you're home, like go home and read it. Like read it in detail. Like I have a lot to cover, so I don't want to go through it in detail. But like Abigail is like my what I strive to be, like diplomatic. I'm super not diplomatic. I'm very politically incorrect. She is like what I strive to be. Like if I can do that for anybody ever, like I've made it. Because she took him like in the height of his like emotions and his rage, which is very difficult to do for anybody outside of somebody who's uber emotional, and she completely changed his tune in a way that made him feel like more empowered and like made him feel like he was better. That's what you want to do. That's in a relationship, that's what you're supposed to be doing. You're supposed to be making the other person feel like they're better or that they want to be better. That's what you're supposed to be doing. That's what guys are responding to, okay? Now, the converse to that is Jezebel. Okay? She's the exact opposite, okay? Abigail, empowered. Abigail understood the whole nurturing thing. Abigail understood exactly what a guy needs. Jezebel, polar opposite, okay? Polar opposite. So I don't know if you guys, I'm sure you all know, what am I even talking about? Ahab and Jezebel and all that. They're like the worst couple ever, and he's like the most evil king in the whole Bible, and he was brutal. Anyways, I love this story because Ahab is like a big baby, okay? So like he wants to take somebody's vineyard, okay? And they won't let him. So he goes to his room and he like cries and he like faces the wall and he refuses to eat and he throws a tantrum because the guy doesn't want to give him the vineyard. Okay? Then his wife, okay, comes to him and she's just like, what's your problem? Like, why are you crying so much? Like, what's your beef? And he's like, oh, he won't give me the vineyard and that's why I'm not eating. And she's like, and what does she do? She says, like, stop your whining. I'm going to take care of this. Okay? You obviously can't do anything for yourself, so I'm going to take care of this. Okay? Then she goes and she creates this like super dishonest plan and makes people lie, and like witnesses like falsely testify against him, against the guy who won't give up his vineyard, whatever, okay, he wants the vineyard, okay, and then has that guy killed, okay, and then goes to Ahab and says, see, I took care of your business, like just get up and go collect your vineyard, okay. And this example is good because it's what not to do for a guy and what not to do for a girl, okay. So for Jezebel, okay, not only did she not empower him, she actually cut him down, okay? Like, she made him feel like he's incapable of doing anything for himself. She made him feel like he's essentially useless, and she made him feel like if he tries to do anything, he will fail, and so she has to do everything. She has to take over, okay? In no way, ever, in the story of Ahab and Jezebel, do you read an ounce of respect anywhere, ever, okay? All she does is give him the impression that he's capable of doing nothing. Okay? And she has to do everything for him. She took away every ounce of manhood that he could have ever had. Okay? And he was a passive guy. Like, he took it. Like, it says, like whatever, and it came to pass, blah, blah, blah. So it was when Ahab heard that Naboth was dead that he got up and went down to take possession of the vineyard. Like, she came in and said, okay, I did it for you. And he's like, okay. And he just got up and did it. Because he's useless. So these are like the two polarizing examples, okay, of men like wanting domesticated women, aka wanting to be nurtured, and Abigail understanding that, and then men being intimidated by strong women, which is false, not true, but not being attracted to somebody who doesn't give them the opportunity to lead, aka Jezebel. So Abigail is what to do, and Jezebel is what not to do. Okay? Okay, women. Okay? So we discussed the guys, okay? What are the stereotypes about women in the movies? Okay? Women are crazy. I hear this a lot. Directed to me. It's fine. I've come to terms with it, okay? And women need to have the last word, okay? And then the church stereotypes are that women are too emotional or too sensitive, and women love to gossip. Okay, I hear this one a lot. They always say nem. Okay? So let's, again, break each one down and talk about if there's any validity to them. So women are crazy. Okay, we're all crazy, okay? A very wise person told me once that every single person is crazy. You just have to find the level of crazy that you can tolerate and marry that person. That's it, okay? So it's not a girl thing. It's not a guy thing. Everybody's crazy, okay? Everybody's crazy. Everybody has their own version of crazy. Whatever, okay? I'm going to dismiss that one, okay? Need to have the last word, okay? I'm going to also argue that this is not a woman thing, okay? This is a needs not being met thing, okay? So like we talked about, guys need to feel respected and girls need to feel loved. That's why wives are called to submit, aka respect, and women and men are called to love, okay? If a guy doesn't feel respected, he will feel like he needs to have the last word because his needs are not being met and you're not understanding that. Like, and so his desire to have the last word is his desire to make you understand that his needs are not being met. And similarly, with a girl, if she's not feeling loved, she will try to have the last word because, again, you're not understanding that what you did made me feel unloved. So I'm, again, going to argue that this is not a guy-girl thing, that this is a needs thing. And so, like I said, if you take any argument and you boil it down to what's the root of the problem, I guarantee you, if you can boil it down to guy not feeling respected and girl not feeling loved and address that concern, nobody's going to care about the last word. As long as they feel like their needs are being met or like at least acknowledged, there's not going to be an issue. Okay? Too emotional or too sensitive. So first, before we get into this one, okay, I just want to get rid of the negative connotation, okay? So when there is a complaint that women are too emotional or too sensitive, it's always delivered with a negative connotation, right? Like, and it's usually followed by they're crazy, right? I wanna just, if we can, take away that connotation of emotional or sensitive being something negative, okay? So we talked about hardwiring, okay? So guys are hardwired to want to take care of women, okay? Guys are hardwired to want to lead. And this is by design because he knew what complements the other, okay? Similarly, okay, girls, hardwired, are better at emotional navigation, 100%, okay? Like, and like, again, everything is a spectrum, right? So like I'm making blanket statements, okay? But like you can have a girl who's like really not emotionally sensitive and you can have a guy who's like super emotionally sensitive. But as a blanket rule, okay, generally girls are better at emotional navigation, okay? I'll give you an example, okay? When I started dating my husband, I was absolutely appalled, okay? His best friend in the entire world, somebody that he esteems very highly, his nickname for him is Fatso. Okay, this is not okay. Like, and when I first heard this, I just kind of like let it go the first few times, and then as he uses it like instead of his name, like he never uses his name, and I talked to him and I was just like, you know, what if he has like body image issues? Like, what if you're like contributing to something that's a deeper problem that you don't know? Like, you don't just call people that. Like, that's not a thing. You can't just throw that word around there. I mean, I'm sure he doesn't have body image issues, okay? Like, he's like 40 and he's fine, okay? But something that would have never occurred to my husband. Never. Because emotional navigation is a girl thing. We're better at it, okay? Similarly, okay, we can walk away from the same interaction or the same social event, okay? And I'll walk away and tell my husband, oh my gosh, there is definitely something going on with so-and-so and so. We need to reach out. We need to talk to them. Like, something's happening. They're not right. And he looks at me like, what are you talking about? Not a clue, okay? Because girls are better at emotional navigation. So, is it true that girls are too emotional or too sensitive? I mean, if you're comparing us to guys, okay, yeah, we are. But that's not a bad thing, because that is another reason why we are better at nurturing, because we understand the emotional navigation. We are better at understanding what somebody could need from an emotional perspective. We are sensitive to things that hurt people and don't hurt people. We are sensitive to things that can jeopardize a relationship. We are sensitive to comments that may be meant superficially but can be taken on a deeper level. We are more sensitive to that. We can read those things better. Is that bad? No. That's fantastic. That's why relationships exist, because people can emotionally navigate them. So, no, that's not a bad thing. But is the stereotype true? Okay, yeah, I guess. We are too emotional or too sensitive, but that's not a bad thing. Love to gossip. Okay, is that true? Sort of. Okay, sort of. Okay, so again, back to the hardwiring by design. Okay. When men are stressed about something, again, blanket, okay? Because I know lots of guys that are not like this, okay? But like blanket statement, generalization, okay? When men are stressed about something, the way they process is different, but it's not usually like talking. That's not usually how they process, okay? Girls, okay, we need to talk. We need to talk it out, okay? Like, we just need to we just need like a sounding board. And sometimes you don't even need anybody to respond, okay? You just need to get it out, okay? Like my husband has learned, okay? When I've had a rough day at work, he'll come home and like let's say I get home at 4:30 and he gets home at 5, I don't think he actually says a word until 6:30 because I'm just going crazy, okay? And Haram, now we have a daughter, he doesn't stand a chance, okay? But that's how we process. That's how we process our stress. That's how we process what happened. That's how we emotionally navigate things. That's how we figure out what's happening internally. That's what we do, okay? Women talk to process. Some women like to gossip. But is that a true stereotype? No. As a general blanket statement, no, okay? Talking and gossiping are two different things. Some people talk and gossip, okay? I totally understand that. But is all talking to process gossip? No. When I come home and I talk to my husband about all the crazy things that happened at work, I'm not gossiping to him. I'm processing with him, okay? But when I come home and I'm like, did you see what she was wearing? Yes, okay, I'm gossiping, okay? But not all talking is gossiping, right? And sometimes guys who are uber sensitive about this concept of gossiping don't understand the part about talking being something that's necessary, or talking being something that a girl needs in order to process things, okay? Okay. There are clear guidelines on how you're supposed to date. Okay? So, in the movies, every movie is like a cookie cutter. And I actually put all the movies up there that I love. Okay? So, don't get me wrong. I'm all this, skeptical about, the movie. I love these movies. I watch them all the time when I'm stressed. Okay? I love rom-coms. Okay? Okay. Let's see if this works.
You want to leave them out? These guys are rookies. I'll leave them out to get it next week.
This was really mostly to make fun of Aki.
Are we doing a zephyr? I'm leading the procession. He's not responding or sorry. That's enough. You, Tonya? This guy needs to stop hogging the mic. What, they're dating? They got engaged? She said yes. Serious? When did they get engaged? She's really young. He's old. I didn't know they were dating. Kosara. Okay, man, you have a shit. Did you buy your Eid clothes? What are you gonna wear for Eid? I can't go this weekend, man. I have a wedding. I have an engagement on Saturday. Wedding on Sunday. I got 2 engagements on the Monday.
Okay, I'll give you a break. I'll try the girl. I'll embarrass somebody who's not here.
I think I'm gonna get married. She's still one of the last good guys. He looks at her during liturgy. He just came from Egypt. Is he a servant? I see you as a brother. I don't want to ruin our friendship. I got another proposal on Facebook. He taught me how to fold a job. Worst case scenario, I just find somebody from Egypt. I hate bleeding the seal. My parents won't let me apply to art. Can you tell me when Abuna's done the guy's side? Is he a deacon? I can lead to the better than him. I haven't washed my hair since I his hand or give him a high five. It's a 3 Orthodox count? Can you give this to Amina? Can you read the gospel at my wedding? I want to take our friendship to the next level, but I'm working on my relationship with Christ. I hate Valentine's Day. Bummer. I want to marry a white guy.
Okay, so there are so many stereotypes, okay, in the movies and in our community, as you saw, two different like videos with a cameo, special appearance from Aki in both of them. Okay, are there clear guidelines on how you're supposed to date? No, there isn't. Okay, and that's why I say that this is one of the most difficult areas to navigate, because there is no black and white. There is no like stepwise fashion of what you're supposed to do. Okay, there are love stories in the Bible. There actually are. There definitely are. Okay, just Isaac and Rebecca, love at first sight. Okay, Ruth and Boaz slept at his feet. How romantic, right? But it doesn't translate into our modern day dating. Okay, it doesn't. Like, I mean, if you sleep at a guy's feet, like, I would call that creepy. Like, I wouldn't call that something that's like socially acceptable. But so there is no like black and white, this is how you're supposed to do this. But there are guidelines on how you're supposed to be, like what kind of person you're supposed to be, and then that will then flow over into your relationship, right? So like now the works of the flesh are evident: adultery, fornication, uncleanness, whatever, idolatry, sorcery, hatred. Like, I don't want to date any of these people. Like, somebody who's lewd and unclean and idolatrous and hates people and is jealous and outbursts of wrath, like, that's a wife beater. Like, I don't want to date any of these people, okay? These are what you're not supposed to do. And then what you are supposed to do is love, joy, peace, long-suffering, kindness, goodness, faithfulness. Like, there is no clear guideline about relationships, but there are clear guidelines on what kind of person you're supposed to be. And that kind of person then flows over into your relationship. Like, your outbursts of wrath, whether you're doing it correctly or incorrectly, are going to flow over into your relationships. So there may not be clear guidelines on how you're supposed to date, but there are clear guidelines on how you're supposed to work on yourself. And then that then flows over into your relationships, right? And there are clear guidelines on, you know, successful relationships and not successful relationships, and what you're supposed to do and what you're not supposed to do, like we talked about. So, you know, what to do for men are to be a leader, be a listener. Don't be passive, like Ahab. Don't be indecisive, like Ahab. And for women, be empowering. Be able to build people up with your words instead of tear them down. Don't be disrespectful. Don't cut somebody down. Don't take away somebody's ability to lead if you're in a relationship or if you're dating somebody. These are all, like, while there may not be a, you know, black and white, these are all concepts that exist in biblical relationships that we're supposed to model, right? So are there clear guidelines, like you're supposed to meet at a grad meeting versus you're supposed to meet in service or whatever? No, there aren't. But there are clear guidelines on what kind of person you're supposed to be. Okay, number 5, that's just not my type, okay? I'm gonna go ahead and disclaimer before we talk about this that I married somebody who's exactly not my type. Like, when I was younger, I had a very, very clear type, and my husband is everything that I said I was never gonna marry, okay? Everything, like it was God's sense of humor, okay? Like, to the bullet point, okay? He was everything, okay? So in the movies, too big, too small, too short, too tall, too fat, too thin, there's other more superficial ones. In our church stereotypes, they're either too young or too old. I just want to say that my husband is much older than me, and it was a big scandal, okay? Too Coptic or too not. I just want to say that my husband's not very Coptic, okay? Like, I mean, he's Coptic, like, he's baptized, but, like, does he know any hymns? No, he doesn't, okay? Too fobby or too assimilated. I mean, we're both pretty assimilated, okay? So this concept of type, okay, I find is something that is very, very destructive in our community, okay? Very destructive, okay? And I'll tell you why. The problem with having a type is before you've even considered this person rationally, okay, logically with your brain, okay, you've put them into a box, okay? And you've now limited them to this one characteristic that makes them not your type, okay? So I'll give you a superficial example. My husband, I'm just joking though, okay?
I know him. I tell him.
My husband is from Mississauga, okay? He's from here, okay?
Yay.
Okay? I was the servant at kids convention when all the kids are saying, Mississauga. I'm like, sucks. That's me, okay? I was that servant, okay? I said I would never marry somebody from Mississauga. This is a superficial example. There were many other things about him that I said I would never marry, okay? I would never marry somebody from Mississauga. I would never leave my home church. I would never, ever do that. I haven't left for Mississauga, but we've left for somewhere else, okay? Like, I would never do that, okay? In doing that, I limited him to the fact that his parents chose to live in Mississauga, okay? It takes away from everything else that he is. Everything else, okay? And now I've defined him by the fact that he lives in Mississauga. False. That's not fair. Like, it's not fair to him, and, like, in all fairness, it's not fair to me, because I could have missed out on the best thing that ever happened to me because he lives in Mississauga. Like, I mean, there's other things that I had to get over, okay? Not just Mississauga, okay? But what I'm saying is, you limit this person to one defining characteristic before you've even, like, figured out who they are, before you've even figured out if they're somebody who's, like, a decent human being, before you've even figured out if there is more to this person than the one defining characteristic. That's not fair. It's not fair to that person, and it's not fair to you, because you could be closing a door that God has opened. Like, to a degree, it's a little bit of arrogance. To a degree, okay? Like, it's a little bit of arrogance on my part to say that I would never marry somebody from Mississauga. What's wrong with Mississauga? It's fine. You guys are okay. Like, you're okay people, okay? Like, who cares? Like, I'm over it now. You know, this was my youth, okay? Like, you guys are fine. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, when you implement this concept of type, there's a little bit of arrogance behind whatever it is you're saying, right? Like, and I can tell you my laundry list of all the things that I said I would never marry and all the things that Rami is. I shouldn't say his name because I don't want to embarrass him. Whatever, okay? But all the things that, like, I thought were wrong about him before I got to know him. But in each one of those little things, there's a little bit of arrogance. So I would caution you the same way, like we talked about earlier, to check yourself and to make sure that this concept of type, okay, is not rooted in a little bit of arrogance, okay? My major problem, though, with this concept of type is that you close the door on things that you didn't know you wanted, okay? I can tell you, honestly, if I had to summarize my husband in one sentence, it was Rami was everything. Don't say his name. Was everything.
It's too late now.
I know. Now you guys know his name is Rami, but you don't know his last name, okay?
It's your last name.
Not necessarily. It's 2019, Aki, but it actually is. I'm, like, conservative at heart, okay? If I had to summarize my husband in one sentence, it's that he is everything I didn't know I wanted. Everything, okay? Like that is literally the best, like, summary of our, like, dating game, is that he's everything I didn't know I wanted. And if I had stuck to my guns about this type, okay, like, my biggest regret about our dating and our whatever is that I didn't say yes to going out with him sooner. Like, I gave my husband a run for his money, but, like, I should have said yes sooner, because then I wouldn't have had to wait as long as I did to figure out that this was so great, because he's everything I didn't know I wanted. Because my father confession at the time was very harsh with me about this concept of type. Very harsh. And in retrospect, that was the best thing he ever did for me. It was the best thing he ever did to me, to get me to, like, break down my preconceived notions and look past the box that I've created in my own wisdom. Like, what the heck do I know about relationships? Like, you can't, like, so, but, okay? There's a difference between a type and there's a difference between a deal breaker, okay? And I want to be very clear about the differentiating factor, okay? A type is based on a superficial characteristic and is based on you not knowing this person, okay? So you've now compartmentalized them into a type and you don't know this person, but they're just that type, okay? A deal breaker, okay, is something usually about yourself that you know you cannot compromise, okay? So I actually encourage people when we talk about relationships and we go through all this and whatever with our groups is, if you know that you have deal breakers, have that conversation sooner rather than later, okay? My husband and I, on, like, date 3 or date 4, okay, had a conversation about deal breakers. Because if there is something that I know that I cannot live with and I will not be able to compromise on, I don't want to waste anybody's time, okay? But going out with my husband because he's not my type does not take away from my deal breakers. And having deal breakers does not mean that I only date a specific type. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, do you see the difference between them? Deal breakers are something that you want to, like, commit to in your spiritual life or in your, like, your marriage home long term, okay? But it is not a reflection of a type of person, okay? And I'm going to just go out, like, throw this out there and say that sometimes, most of the time, types are, like, they're based on nothing. right? Like this concept of phobia or not phobia. One of the whitest people I know married one of the phobiest people I know, and they have a very happy marriage. Okay, very happy. Okay, communication is not a barrier. I promise. Everybody speaks English. Okay, like, so I challenge you to to question this concept of types, question where it came from, and like what makes you so like stringent about this type, and just check yourself. Okay, dig a little bit deeper and make sure that your like clinging to this concept of types is not based in a little bit of arrogance. Okay, dig a little deeper. Okay. Yes, go ahead. Sure. I just have to disclaimer that I don't really know anything, but okay. So, just a personal example. When I started dating my husband, it was a big scandal because he's much older than me. Okay, big scandal. And my sister was like, "Oh my gosh, when he was in school, you were like just born, like not just born, but like that kind of thing." It was a big scandal. Like, and it was also one of the reasons why I was not like interested in dating him. Now most people don't even know that there's an age difference. I mean, that's a little offensive to me, but like. What do you mean? Like the girl being older? Age ain't nothing but a number. Does anybody get that reference? No? I'm old. That's fine. I don't. So for me, those kinds of things, like the numbers, like how old he or she is, how much he or she makes. Like there was also a very old concept of like the guy has to make more money, all that stuff. I think those are all superficial examples of a deeper concept in that he needs to feel respected and she needs to feel loved. So back in the day, okay, if a guy made less money, he wouldn't feel respected, right? And I can see, honestly, like just from a logical perspective, how depending on some personality types, that would be problematic for the guy, okay, 100%. But what I'm saying is, outside of those nitty-gritty details, if you can ensure in the relationship that he feels respected and she feels loved, I don't think that those little things matter, like age and money and numbers and that kind of stuff. As long as like there is a commitment to him feeling respected and her feeling loved, I think you can surmount any of that stuff. Yeah? Okay.
And I feel even with like the money thing, like people change
Totally.
jobs, like
Totally.
one person could be making this much and then that changes, that varies. So
Totally.
I mean, it's like.
My husband always makes the joke, when we first got married, he was still in school, so I was the sugar mama. He always makes that joke. Whatever. Like, but like what I'm saying is, we were secure enough in our relationship that this was a joke. Like he felt respected enough to make that joke. I felt loved enough to like laugh at that joke. Like, if that part of your relationship is on stable ground, I don't think this other thing is a big deal. But that's my personal opinion. Abuna, if you have anything to add.
I just maybe have a little bit of reservation on the age difference. I don't know what's the age difference that you're experiencing. I don't want to.
I'm just kidding. It's not that bad.
I think age, though it's a number, it's not everything, but it's also something not to completely ignore.
Right. I mean, keep it legal.
In my opinion, yeah. That's one thing.
Sorry, I'm really tired.
Because there is a personality aspect, right. There is maturity aspect, there is, and this is in both, not just in one of them. I always say, always be conscientious that sometimes, I don't mean anything, but the age difference does not make an impact at the moment. Mm-hmm. But down the road, 10 years, 20 years, 25, 30 years, sometimes this could be, depending on how are you able to, being secure as you mentioned, being mature, being able to have the personality that is compatible, and always working on the relationship, because it's a relationship that is supposed to last forever, not 20, 30 years, it's forever. So kind of with a grain of salt, if I may add.
Definitely. Okay, everybody good? Okay. Myth number 6, okay? I had parked this issue earlier when we said about dating around and this and that, and I said I wanted to come back to it, okay? I feel like I'm disclaiming a lot of things that are pet peeves of mine. This is one of them, okay? You have to know how you feel before you go on a date, okay? So this feeds into this concept of, oh, he dates around, or oh, she dates around, okay? I want to talk about this, and like, okay, so you're gonna have to jump in when I get too politically incorrect, which it takes a lot to offend me, Abuna, so please just, okay? So, my personal perspective on this, personal, not at all rooted in anything priestly, okay, is that this concept of dating around, I feel like we need to separate sometimes like culture from like modern day, okay, or like logic. I want to say logic, but that sounds a little bit rude, okay, but logic, okay. So you can't know how you feel about somebody if you don't spend time with them, okay, and you can't spend time with them if you don't want to date, okay. Like that is my personal opinion, okay. So not everybody, but dating, okay, is not a sure thing. That's why it's dating, okay? It's not marriage, it's dating. When you walk into a date or you walk into a relationship where you're just dating, okay, you're sitting at like, I don't even want to say a 50-50. You're sitting at like a 70-30 failure, okay? Because a successful course of dating is either you figured out that this person is right for you, okay, sorry, which is great, or you figured out that this person is wrong for you, which is also great, okay? It is equally successful for you to have figured out that somebody is not right for you as for you to have figured out that somebody is right for you, okay? Equally successful, because that is the purpose of dating. The purpose of dating, there's actually a definition, okay, is a stage of romantic relationships in humans whereby two people meet socially with the aim of each assessing the other's suitability as a prospective partner in an intimate relationship or marriage, okay? You have to assess the other person's suitability. You can only assess the other person's suitability as a husband or as a wife on a date, okay? Group dating is great. I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with going out in groups. There's nothing wrong with that. But that group dating has an endpoint, okay? You cannot group date and then get engaged, okay? You can't do that because you don't know what this person is like on their own. And you have to know that. You have to know that, okay? So this concept of having a stigma, okay, or somebody is like, they have a reputation or whatever because they dated around. If you dated and you realized that this person is not good for you, did you do anything wrong? Like, you did the right thing by getting out of it and not marrying somebody who's clearly wrong for you because we have some, like, weird sense of obligation. Like, I want us to divide from that because I worry that, like, the rising rates of divorce are because we have this weird sense of obligation where, like, there's, like, a cap. Like, you can only go on a date with 3 people before you have to get married because then you've dated around. Like, no, okay? No. You have to assess the other person's suitability. Do not commit to somebody who you feel is not suitable. And so, like, this concept of, like, whatever, dating around or, like, I'm not going to go with him because that guy dates around. Sure, like, if he's, like, a little bit of a jerk or whatever, okay, yeah, don't go with him. That's fine. But if you're not going out with him because, he's been on dates with other girls and he didn't propose to them, I'd say he's a stand-up guy, okay? Like, he saved her from a divorce. That's great. Good for him. High five. You should date him because he dated around, okay? And similarly, okay, for the girl, not dating her because she's dated around, like, you need to make sure that the other person is suitable for you. So this concept of dating around always has such a negative connotation, and I want us to really challenge where that negative connotation comes from, okay? I want us to really challenge this, this stigma of, like, you can't go on too many dates and then you get to a point where you're seen as this, like, whatever, loose person or whatever you want to say, okay? I want to challenge you guys to approach that myth with logic. Okay, just with logic. Okay, like, I mean, I don't know what, like, the rates. Like, I'm old, right? Like, I've been out of this dating game for a while. Okay, back when I was dating, nobody knows anything about anybody who's dating, right? It's the biggest kept secret. Like, you date, and me and my husband used to drive to, like, Ajax so that nobody could see us. Like, what are we doing in Ajax? Okay? Because God forbid somebody found out that I dated this guy and then we broke up. I'm tainted goods. Khalas, nobody's gonna marry me, right? Like, whatever. I challenge you to just question these concepts that we take for granted. Like, and a lot of these things we were raised with, right? Like, I was raised with this, and my parents are like, oh my goodness, my sister's right now engaged, God forbid the engagement breaks up, oh, she's gonna ruin her life. It's really not gonna ruin her life. She'll be fine, okay? Like, everybody will be fine if they break up from a relationship. It's actually fine, okay? But I question you to challenge where these stigmas come from, okay? And just make sure that there's some form of logic that you're rooted in before you make decisions based on these stigmas, okay? Because, like, dating somebody and then breaking up with them is a stand-up thing, okay? Good for you for not committing to somebody who's wrong for you, okay? Like, don't date a jerk, okay? I'm not at all questioning that, but don't dismiss somebody because they've been in past relationships. That's not logical, okay?
Just to point on that, what about, like, dating multiple people at the same time?
We're gonna get there.
We're gonna get there.
Okay. So I'll just do a sidebar about this one, okay? I'll do a sidebar, okay? So, dating multiple people at the same time. So, first, I'm going to say we're Coptic, okay? So, like, as much as I want us to challenge, okay, stereotypes that are just ingrained in us, okay, from our parents and things like that, okay, we're also Coptic, okay? So, like, in the video when Aki's like, she said yes, bro, we're Coptic, okay? No, but there is no Coptic couple where the guy proposed and it was a surprise and she said no. Like, we don't do that, okay? If the guy proposed, she said yes, and they're getting married and the wedding's in a year. Like, that's what we do, okay? So, dating multiple people at the same time, okay? My personal perspective on this is, like, it's messy, okay? Like, you get yourself into a position that you might not want to be in, because what if you're interested in pursuing two at the same time? Then what? Because there comes a point where, like, you have to, what's a nice way to say this? Like, you have to kind of make a decision, right? Like, either you're going to keep casually dating or you're going to make this into a relationship, right? So what I'm going to say, okay, is that, and this is also very much directed at the guys in the room, okay? There's a point where you go on a date with somebody, okay? Just because you go out for coffee with somebody doesn't mean you're engaged, okay? Just because you go out for coffee with somebody doesn't mean you're in a relationship, okay? Doesn't, okay? You can go out for coffee with somebody and then never hear from them again, and, like, they didn't break up with you, okay? Because you were not in a relationship, okay? You're fine, okay? But the caveat to that, okay, is that there are only so many coffee dates that you can go on before somebody needs to say something, okay? Somebody needs to say something, okay? Because this, like, obscure, ambiguous, like, indefinite amount of dates has to lead to something, because there needs to be a level of, like, maturity and commitment about what you're doing, okay? You can't just throw darts everywhere, okay? That's not how this works. So generally, okay, this is the guy's job. And I'm looking at you guys because there's more guys over here, but there's a sprinkle over there too, right? But generally, this is the guy's job, okay? So after a certain number of dates, you need to define what's happening. So either you're in or you're out, okay? Either you're going to go out on dates in the hopes of pursuing a relationship, okay? Or this is not really working out for you, and there's going to be no more coffee dates. But you got to make a decision, okay? So my concern with dating multiple people at the same time is that those timelines may not necessarily match up, right? Like, you may not know with this person that you're no longer interested in coffee dates at the same time as you're interested in pursuing more with this person. So I would caution you not to do that, just because I think it's messy, right? Like, you're setting yourself up for an ugly situation, I think, okay? With that said, okay, that is also under the assumption that the guys that you date are going to define the relationship at the right time, okay? And for me, guys, this is very, very, very key for guys, okay? This is, to me, what tells you that this guy is a stand-up guy or not. And I'm not saying, like, he's a stand-up guy because he says, yes, I want to pursue a relationship. No. He's a stand-up guy because he says whatever he says. If your decision is that you're not interested in coffee dates anymore, that's fine too. But that makes you stand up for saying, you know what, I don't think there's chemistry here. Like, let's not. You're the same level of stand-up as you are if you say, you know what, this is going really well and I want to pursue this into a relationship. But you have to say something. You have to define the relationship. You have to make this not casual, okay? Because if we're going to teach girls in our community, and this is a learning curve, okay, because this is not intuitive to us. This is not how we did it when I was dating my husband. If you go out for coffee, you're in a relationship. That's it, okay? Back like 100 years ago, okay? That's how it was. But now we're challenging these norms, okay? We're challenging these stigmas. So for guys, if we're going to challenge women to not plan the wedding the first day you ask them out on a coffee date, okay? We're going to challenge you to be stand up and to make sure that after, you know, X amount of dates, I have personal opinions on how many dates, okay? X amount of dates, that you say something and that you make this into something, or you're done.
How many?
I have a personal opinion, but who am I? Who cares what I think, right?
Sure.
Okay, I will tell you my opinion, but it's okay. It's like a numbers game, okay? So let's say, okay, you are like going on one date a week with somebody that you're casually interested in. You're not sure if you're really interested, okay? My rule is like 4 dates or a month, like whatever comes sooner, okay? I don't think that it's appropriate for someone to be talking and to be going out on coffee dates, whatever, for like 3 or 4 months and nothing's being said, okay? I don't think that that's appropriate. I think that that's stringing somebody along, or I think that's a guy copping out, or somebody like commitment issues, wrong place, wrong time, wrong girl, whatever. I don't think that's appropriate, okay? I think it's like 4, 5, whatever dates, or like a month, like 6 weeks tops. But like I don't know anything. I'm sure everybody will argue with me about that. I'm super conservative, like in my heart of hearts. Yes.
So on the flip side, why can't the girl talk and say, oh, like, I want this to go further, right? Why does it have to be the guy?
I can tell you. I can tell you why it's going to have to be the guy. You're not going to like it. But I'm really tired, so I don't really care. Okay, we talked about Ahab and Jezebel, okay? And we talked about David and Abigail, okay? So we talked about how the way guys are wired and the way girls are wired, okay? God has chosen men to be leaders. He has chosen men to be priests of the household, okay? Part of that leadership is taking initiative. Part of that leadership is showing that you're able to lead a household. You're able to like take care of a household. You're able to push a household closer to God. You're able to take a family and like shepherd that flock, okay? And similarly, this is not something that is oppressive for women because part of our God-given like call, okay, is that we're able to nurture a household, okay? And that's not to say that it's like you gotta be a stay-at-home mom. Like I work, I promise, okay? I don't stay at home with my kids, okay? Like that's not that. But it's your ability to empower your family to be better. It's your ability to build your family up into their potential, into like servants and God-fearing people, your husband included, okay? As opposed to tearing them down, okay? When you, as a man, okay, sit back and wait for the woman to do that for you, you're very much Ahabing, 100%, okay? And you're now putting her in a position where she's Jezebeling, 100%, right? Because the initiative that you should be taking is not being taken, and now she feels like she has to do it. So, like, again, my opinion, based on nothing, okay? I am very conservative about this particular issue, okay? Not because I feel like there's anything inherently wrong with a girl, like, initiating a relationship. I don't think there's anything inherently wrong with that action. What I caution people about is what precedent you're setting for the relationship, okay? Like, what are you, now your relationship is getting started on what foot? Like, is now her assumption that she's always going to have to initiate something if it needs to happen? That's wrong, because then that now takes away from your ability to lead. And she's now assuming that you'll never do it, right? Which makes you feel disrespected. And then the fact that you never do it, okay, makes her feel like you don't love her enough to take initiative and do it, right? So it's a vicious cycle where people are not going to get what they need. With that said, I'm happy to be challenged on that, okay? This is my own opinion. But I don't think that there's anything inherently wrong with a girl asking out a guy. I just think that it might set the relationship up on the wrong foot. That's what I think.
100% agree with you, Sarah. First of all, thank you for sharing a number. I think there is no magical number. I would agree. I just wanted people to hear that it is limited to something specific, so that if I'm considering dating more than one person, at least I'm not wasting more than 1 month of my time, which is fairly reasonable to get to know a person, plus or minus 1, 2. That's fine. So on the second point, I have a point to share. Maybe if the girl is not sharing an initiative, but at least just for the girl, if she's going out, then this is a permission of this is an indicative yes, where we're getting to know one another. And I think it's also on the girl, if she finds that this is not suitable, is to say, you know what, I think this is not working. But to affirm that it is working, I think I would agree with you that it needs to come from the man. I have just a simple story to share. I've heard from someone after maybe 10, 12 years of marriage, kind of regretting or kind of revisiting, because the way his relationship started, that the wife initiated the relationship. So he's thinking, so maybe this is not how it's supposed to be. So kind of how the devil is playing, because I agree with Sarah, we are wired in a certain way, and we need to honor how we are wired. This is kind of a natural thing.
Like, I hope I didn't offend anybody, but like, I would want everybody in a relationship to get what they need out of it. And a woman needs to feel loved, and she needs to have her emotional needs met, and a man needs to feel respected. And I would just caution you to do something that is like counterintuitive to what that would look like. Okay. So like, okay. You can see me like worrying that I offended somebody. I don't usually worry. I'm just really tired. So one of the reasons why my husband was everything I didn't know I wanted was because he was the first person that took like blunt initiative like that, okay? Like all the other relationships that I've been in, I'm just gonna self-disclose. Like, are we over this whole stigma? Like, of not talking about past relationships? Like, can we talk about them in a safe space? Okay? Like, I dated people before my husband. Like, is that okay with everybody? Am I gonna be like stoned? Because I, yeah. He knows, I promise, okay? So, like, before, okay, it was always like, oh, like a friendship, and then like you just like fell into it. Like, it was just kind of like obscure for a while. Like, Rami was the first person who like just like point blank, like, listen, I think this could be something great. I would like to take you out for dinner. Bam. And that was actually, like, surprisingly the first time that anybody has ever just bluntly asked me that, okay? And that was one of my first experiences of, you know, he was everything I didn't know I wanted. Because I had never had somebody who was just, like, upfront, blatantly taking initiative. Like, I had never had somebody who was just, like, blatantly, like, just clear. Just crystal clear about everything, like no games. And like, you know what, Rami was very verbose about it. Like, I think you're great, I think this could be something great, and I really want to pursue this, like, just like that. And like it gave me pause for a second because nobody had ever been that, like, you know, like that direct about it. But later, okay, I realized that this is something that I hope everybody has. Like, I hope everybody gets this. I hope there's no ambiguity in whether or not you're in a relationship, because it's great. It's actually great. So, like, that's kind of, you know what I mean? Okay, so back to myths. Okay, there's only 10, I promise. I'm almost done, okay? So, you just know, and it all works out, okay? So, in the movies, there's all this, like, love at first sight, and, like, you know, if you've seen The Wedding Planner, they, like, meet at the garbage thing, he, like, saves her, and they're just in love, and everything is great, and whatever. There's no effort, okay? And for us, okay, in our community, okay, God has the one picked out for you. There's only one person picked out for you, and if you don't marry that person, you've screwed up everybody else's chances at the one, okay? And God reveals to you instantly that this is the person you should be pursuing, and God will do all the legwork if this is his will for you, okay? Just a funny story, okay? After we got married, okay, I asked my husband one time, so he's very good with words, sometimes not so good with words, okay? So I asked him, like, how did you, like, what point did you know that God was telling you that we're gonna get married and, like, you know, you're gonna propose? Like, what was the shift in your mind? He's like, you know, I just kept getting less anxious about it. I was like, that's it? It made you less anxious to marry me? Needless to say, we had a fight. Okay? Because I didn't feel very loved, that he was less anxious. Okay? But, like, okay? I know, I'm like roasting him, right? What I'm going to tell you is that I shouldn't have been offended, because I didn't feel instantly when I met Rami that, like, okay, this is the person that God has for me. It took me actually a very long time to, like, I don't want to say come around, but, like, to get to where he was. It took me a very long time, okay? There was no, like, grand revelation. There was no, like, instantaneous, like, light bulb, and all of a sudden, like, the world is made of butterflies and lollipops and I'm in love. It wasn't like that, okay? And I'm happy, logically, that it wasn't like that for him, right? Because, I question, okay, cautiously, the relationships that are like that, because what's that based on? I didn't know Rami. I wasn't friends with him, okay? Like, it's not like we were besties and then we fell into a relationship at all. He was from Mississauga. We talked about this, okay? Okay? Like, I didn't know him. So I would, if that's how I felt about him or he felt about me, I would actually question that. Like, I would question the validity of that, because what's that based on, okay? Like, in the beginning of your relationship, okay, there is a lot of logic that needs to be part of your decision-making process. Like, your emotions should come into play, like, way later in the game, because emotions muddy things. Emotions cloud your perspective. Emotions cloud your judgment. A lot of the beginnings need to be based on logic. They need to be. So, like, can you just know that this person's right for you? Like, I'm a skeptic, so, okay, maybe. I didn't. I don't know, okay? Maybe. But I would caution you to question whether there's, like, logical basis to that, okay? And if you don't feel instantaneously in love with the person who asked you out for coffee yesterday, okay, you're still okay. Go out on date 2, okay? Go out. It's okay, okay? Like, you need a little bit more before you can decide whether this is or isn't it for you, okay? Like, what I want you guys to not rely on is this, like, grand outpouring of emotion, okay? I would challenge you guys to rely heavily on logic, especially in the beginning phases. Like, I don't want to reveal too much about our personal stuff. So I'll just tell you, okay? My husband and I were very, like, on this logic thing, okay? And we both mutually agreed that this is the right way to go about this, okay? If we're serious about this and we think that this could be something great, then we're going to rely on logic for a long time, okay? And so we decided, okay, that we were not going to use the L word, okay? We're not going to use that. And the only time we're going to use that is when we're ready to get engaged. So when he says that, I know that he's ready. And when I say it back, we're Coptic, I said it back, okay? Like, when I say it back, he knows that I'm ready. And he should start shopping for a ring, okay? And that wasn't like a game of Signal, okay? That's not what we were playing, okay? What we were trying to do was to make sure that our emotions don't get in the way of our logic, that our emotions don't cloud these, like, life-changing decisions, okay? What we were trying to prevent was this, like, grand outpouring of stars twinkling and the foot comes up when he tells her he loves her and all that kind of stuff. I would caution you to question that, because that's not real life and that's not what you want. You want something that's a little bit deeper than that. You may think that that's what you want because the movies make it look so great, but deeper, like, you need something deeper that's going to sustain a marriage. And I can tell you that, like, 7 years into a marriage, you need more than these, like, grand gestures and twinkling lights. Right? So just, like, the last point about this is that God joins the relationship between a man and a woman at the point of marriage, okay? Marriage, okay? Dating is not a sacrament, okay? Engagement is arguable, okay? Marriage is the sacrament, okay? Before he joins you at the sacrament, okay, you need to do a lot of the legwork, okay? My caution also about this is that people are just going to sit back and say, oh, if this is God's will, he'll just figure it out. If this is God's will, he'll just puppeteer everybody in the right spot, and everybody will know how everybody feels, and nothing, okay? I would caution you because sometimes this myth lends to being passive. And being passive is a very, very, very destructive relationship killer, especially for guys. Sorry. Okay. I'm going to speed through the rest because we're running really late. Sorry, Aki. So you have to have it figured out. So this one is people who over-spiritualize sometimes. Sorry, I'm really struggling here. People that over-spiritualize their relationships sometimes, okay? So, like, in the movies, like, the stereotype is like, oh, the girl's mad about something, and he's like, what's wrong? Why are you mad? And she's like, if I have to tell you, you should already know. Like, you know, she has the hand on the hip like this, and she's just really mad. Like, I shouldn't have to tell you this. You should already know why I'm upset. Like, you should be able to read my mind, essentially, okay? And for us, in our society, it's, oh, he didn't act like a leader. He didn't know this. He didn't know that, like, it's time to commit. We have a 1-year golden rule. After you've been dating for a year, you have to propose right away. Like, he didn't know these things, okay? My caution to you here is the concept of very, very clear communication, okay? A lot of the times when we get into a relationship, and I'm going to tell you self-disclose, like, as a girl, okay? When I got into a relationship, my expectation was that he just understands what's romantic. He just understands what he's supposed to do to make me feel loved. He's just supposed to know. Because if he loves me, then it should just come naturally. False, okay? False. If I don't tell him how to do it, he will not know. Okay? Because what makes me feel loved and what makes me feel good and what's romantic to me is not romantic to you. Okay? I hate flowers. I hate them. I think they're silly. Buy me a pair of shoes. I want shoes. I don't want flowers. Okay? But if I don't tell him that, he's not going to know that. He's going to keep buying me flowers, and I'm going to keep getting annoyed that I don't feel loved because I don't like flowers. I have to tell him that. Okay? Like, and I'm sure there's 100 girls in here who love flowers. Good for you. If you're whoever buys you flowers, that's great. It's great that you have communicated with him enough to let him know that that's what does it for you. Okay? What I'm saying is they cannot read minds, and it goes the other way as well for guys. Okay? Like, if there is something that she's doing that is not making you feel empowered, it's not making you feel like you're able to lead, you need to vocalize that, because nobody can read minds. Okay? Nobody has this figured out. Nobody has read the handbook on dating. There is no handbook because this is unique to everybody. Like, what makes you annoyed doesn't make you annoyed, and what's romantic to you is not romantic to you. And that's what makes your relationship fantastic. That's what's going to make your relationship unique, and that's what's going to make your relationship real and deep. But in order for you to get to that point, you have to be able to talk about it. You have to. And in the beginning for a relationship, it was really hard. I don't want to tell my husband how to be romantic. It takes away from the romance, okay? It takes away from the romance the first time you do it, but 7 years later, when he's still doing it, it's pretty romantic, okay? Like, they will not be able to read your minds. The biggest thing about a relationship is having your needs met. In order to get your needs met, you have to be able to vocalize what those needs are. And you know what? As a person, again, you guys don't know me, okay? I don't like talking about feelings. I don't like that. Like, this was a big hurdle for me and my husband. I don't talk about that kind of like, it makes me awkward. It makes me uncomfortable. I don't like it. You have to learn. You have to learn to be able to do it, because that's the only way that you're both going to be in a position to offer to the other person what they need. You have to know what they are before you can offer it, okay? It is unrealistic for you to expect the other person to just show up whole and they have everything figured out. That's not fair. It's not fair to the other person, okay? You'll be happier once you get married. It's like every mother's like perspective for their young daughters, okay? What I want to say about this is I am happier after I got married, 100%. Rami was the best thing that ever happened to me, okay? I tell people all the time, I have like a top 10 list when I pray to God of all the amazing things he's ever done for me, and I always like recite them because I want to remember like God's miracles in my life and God's promises in my life and when he came through for me. I want to remember that. So I always recite them. Number 1 on that list is Rami, 100%. He's the best thing that ever happened to me. Am I happier after I got married? Yes, I am. Without a shadow of a doubt, Rami is the best thing that ever happened to me. He's the greatest gift that God ever gave me. Was being single a problem? No, it wasn't. Is marriage a solution? No, it's not. Okay? So I just want to challenge that like stigma. Okay? Marriage is great. It's great. But being single is not a problem, and being married is not a solution, okay? Being married is great. That's an independent concept, not at all related to the fact that singledom is not a problem and marriage is not a solution. So, like, sometimes I feel like in our culture, we need to, like, really shatter that impression because everybody's got, like, a best before date. Like, if you're not married by this time, you're expired. Like, okay? Singledom is not a problem, okay? Sorry, what's the question?
Not happiness, not happier, but completeness.
So I would also question that because your feelings of being complete should not be contingent on another human being. They should be contingent on him alone, right? And he can fulfill you through your marriage, absolutely, but Rami does not fulfill me the way he fulfills me, right? Like, God gave me Rami to bring me closer to completion or to bring me closer to fulfillment. I'm nowhere near completion, let me tell you, okay? But he gave me Rami to help me get there. But Rami didn't make me complete. He made me complete. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't think you can place that burden or that magnitude on somebody else because that can only come from him. It can't come from anybody else, right? Like, he can help you get there, but he's not like the manifestation of your completeness. Do you know what I'm saying? Does that make sense, Abuna?
Like maybe differentiate between complete and complement.
Exactly.
Like these are pardon me.
Maybe that's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, to be complete is through God. To complement in a relationship of marriage is we add to the pot. So I am complete. She is complete or he is complete, and we fill because to have a relationship is a third pot, is another kind of system by itself that we complement one another, helper, comparable, and complement one another.
Absolutely. Okay, last one. Okay, and then I'm done.
Comment or a question?
Oh, sorry, I didn't see that.
I have a comment about like getting married is not gonna make you happier if you're not married to the right person. So just the act of getting married, if it's not to the right person, you're not gonna be happier. So like don't rush into marriage just so you could because you think that's gonna make you happier.
I would actually even challenge that. Like, so getting married to the wrong person is not going to make you happy. If you're a negative person, getting married to the right person is still not going to make you happy. Okay? You need to be happy by yourself, and then getting married is a side note. Like, so I was kind of speeding through it, but like this verse, Psalm 1 verse 1, is always used for like peer pressure, right? Like, fine, it's totally reasonable, okay? But also the Hebrew translation of that word blessed is actually happy. Okay? So if you read it as happy is the man who walks not in the counsel of the ungodly, happy is the man who doesn't stand in the path of sinners, happy is the man who doesn't see the sinners. None of those things are based on a relationship. Okay? None of those things. All these things are based on him. None of them are based on another human being. So your happiness, okay, cannot come from another person. Your happiness needs to exist, your contentment needs to exist, and then you get married. Okay? Because if it wasn't there before, this person is not going to bring it for you. Okay? Even if it's the right person. Okay, last one. Sorry, I know I ran really late. Okay, as long as we love each other, nothing else matters. Oh, Okay, we'll figure it out. Okay, in the movies it's love conquers all, just follow your heart. For us, it's 1 Corinthians 13. Okay, that is the most misused verse in the Coptic community, I think. Okay, 1 Corinthians, the greatest of these is love. And if I love him, it doesn't matter if he has no job and we have no money and we're going to beg on the streets. It doesn't matter. 1 Corinthians 13, okay? Okay? So, like I said, logic, okay, in the beginning of the relationship. Please, okay? Because if our heart condemns us, God is greater than our heart and knows all things, okay? Your emotions can very much muddy the waters, okay? And the danger of this myth is that you don't talk about real things, okay? And the real things that are going to sustain a marriage, okay? Your moral convictions, your deal breakers, okay? Your hopes for your family, your hopes for your children, how you want to raise your children, how you want your household to look like. These are things that are important, okay? They are very, very important. And love is all that matters, okay? Like, I would caution you not to use that word too early before you figured out this kind of stuff, because there are more things that matter than just how you feel, okay? There is logic. There is reality, there is life, okay? So I would caution you not to put too much weight on the feelings, and especially in the beginning, put a lot more weight on the logic, okay? All right, I will leave it there because I have talked your ears off. I'm very sorry. Any questions? No? Okay, very good.
This was amazing. Thank you very much. And this is going to be available. Like, the session is going to be available because it was recorded. So, but for benefit.